All right, today we're tackling a big one of the single biggest risks on any work site, working at heights. This isn't just about taking boxes or following rules. It's about making absolutely sure that everyone gets to go home safe at the end of the day. So, let's get right into it. First things first, what are we even talking about when we say work at heights? You might be picturing someone on a skyscraper, but the reality is it's way more common than you think. You see, the official definition is actually pretty broad. We're talking about any situation where you could fall and get hurt. Usually that means a fall from just 4 to 6 feet. That's about 1.2 to 1.8 meters. This covers the obvious stuff, like ladders and scaffolding, but it also includes working on top of vehicles, on rooftops, or really any elevated platform. And let me tell you, the stakes could not be higher. Just to put this into perspective, if you look at the data from Australia between 2015 and 2019, a massive 40% of all fatal falls happen in construction. It is one of the most serious dangers workers face, period. And this slide right here perfectly shows you how a simple warning sign connects to a real life or death situation. On the left, you've got that universal sign for a fragile roof. And on the right, a worker on that exact kind of surface. This is where theory gets real fast. So how do we actually manage these risks? Well, it's not just about grabbing a harness and hoping for the best. There's a smart, systematic approach called the hierarchy of control. You need to think of this as your first and your most important line of defense. This pyramid is the perfect way to visualize it. You see those 5 levels? At the very top, you have elimination, which is the most effective way to stay safe. And it goes all the way down to the bottom to the least effective controls. The goal is always to start at the top and work your way down. So let's walk through these levels. Right at the top, the best option is elimination. Can you just get rid of the hazard completely? Maybe you can assemble something on the ground instead of up in the air. If that's not possible, you move to passive protection, things like guardrails that physically stop you from getting to an edge. Then we get into personal gear. Fall restraint keeps you on a short leash so you can't even reach the fall hazard. Fall arrest is different. That's what's designed to safely stop you if you've already fallen. And that last layer, that's administrative controls, like warning signs and training. Okay, so what happens when those higher levels of control just aren't possible? That's when we have to rely on our personal fall protection gear. This is your personal safety net, and it all boils down to remembering 3 very simple letters, the ABCs. This is the absolute core of your personal fall protection system. A is for anchorage, B is for body support, C is for connectors. And you have to remember, this system is a chain. If just one of these 3 parts fails, the whole thing fails. Every single link has to be perfect, every single time. Let's start with A, for anchorage. Your gear, no matter how good it is only as strong as the point it's attached to. Look at the left, that's what you want to see. Strong, secure, properly rated anchor points. Now look at the right. This is what can get you killed. Wrapping a lanyard around a sharp edge that could slice right through it, or using an unstable point that could just break off. Next up is B for body support. And I need you to listen to this because this is so important. A full body harness, the kind you see here, is specifically designed to spread out the massive force of a fall across the strong parts of your body, your shoulders, your thighs, your pelvis. A simple body belt, on the other hand, is only for positioning. Let me say that again. Never use a body belt to stop a fall. The force would be concentrated on your stomach, and it can cause devastating internal injuries. Okay, so putting your harness on correctly is a skill you absolutely must master. The trick is to start by holding it by the back D-ring. See how all the straps just fall into place? From there, you slip it on like a jacket. Connect your leg straps first, then move up to connect the chest strap. And the last step is to go through and adjust all the straps so they're snug and secure. Here's your final fit check. The harness needs to be snug, but not so tight that you can't move. A really good rule of thumb is that you should be able to fit a flat hand between the strap and your body, but not a closed fist. And this is critical. Make sure that back D-ring is perfectly centered right between your shoulder blades. That's what keeps you upright in a fall. And that brings us to C for connectors. This is your lanyard, your snap hooks, and your shock absorber. But here's the thing. The best connector in the world is useless if you don't have enough room to fall. This is called fall clearance. Before you even clip in, you must calculate the total distance you would fall to make sure you won't hit the ground or anything else below you. You have to account for your lanyard length, how much the shock absorber deploys, your own height, and then add in a safety factor.
Let's be perfectly clear about this. If you miscalculate your fall clearance, you can hit the ground while wearing your gear perfectly. Getting this calculation right isn't just a suggestion. It is a life or death step, every single time.
All right, we've gone through the personal gear. Now let's switch gears and talk about the common equipment you're going to see out on the job site. Each one of these has its own set of rules that you just can't ignore. So first up, we've got mobile elevating work platforms, or MUPs as they're usually called. You might know them as scissor lifts or boom lifts. They're incredible tools, but if you don't use them right, you're looking at major risks like tip-overs, getting zapped by overhead power lines, or falling right out of the basket. So before you even think about going up, you've got to run through a pre-use checklist. Make sure you're on firm, level ground. Do a visual inspection of the guardrails. Test all the controls, including the emergency ones. And 2 huge rules: never, ever exceed the load capacity, and always stay tied off to the anchor point inside the basket. Next, let's talk about scaffolding. Yeah, it's a temporary structure, but you have got to treat it with the same respect you'd give a permanent building. The biggest dangers here are collapse, falls from the platform, and tools or materials falling on people below. Here is the #1 rule for scaffolds, and it's non-negotiable. Only work on a scaffold that has been fully built and inspected by someone who knows what they're doing. Look for that green inspection tag. Before you climb, check for yourself. Does it have stable footing? Is it tied into the building? Does it have proper guardrails and toe boards? If not, don't use it. And finally, the piece of equipment that's probably the most common and maybe the most underestimated: the ladder. It looks so simple, but its simplicity is what makes it dangerous. Ladders are involved in a huge number of workplace falls. The rules for ladders are simple, but you have to follow them. First, pick the right ladder for the job. Set it up at a 75-degree angle. That's the 4-to-1 rule. For every 4 feet you go up, the base of the ladder should be 1 foot away from the wall. When you're climbing up or down, always maintain 3 points of contact. That means 2 feet and 1 hand or 2 hands and 1 foot on the ladder at all times. And don't overreach. It's always safer to climb down and move the ladder. Okay, we've covered a lot. So let's boil it all down to the 3 key things you absolutely have to take away from this. #1, plan your work. Always think with that hierarchy of control first. #2, know your ABCs, anchorage, body support, connectors, and inspect your gear before every single use. And #3, follow the rules for the equipment you're using. Do your checks and never, ever cut corners. Because at the end of the day, safety isn't just about rules and equipment. It's about people. It's about you. You now know what to do to protect yourself. So the only question left is, who's waiting for you to come home safe today?